What's up, guys? Matthew Mouse. Today we've got a Pokemon tier list, another one. This time I'm doing starters. If you've kept up with the channel, you'll know I've been streaming Pokemon Crystal, and I'm going to go through all the Pokemon games. So, like with the games, why not do the starters? Because I'm naturally going to be using most of these starters as we go through. Like, probably over half of them are going to get used. So, and some gens, all of them are going to get used because there's enough games. So, I figured let's go ahead and do a starter tier list. So, really, the criteria is just how much do I enjoy using the Pokemon. What makes it what's tough is there's a couple of Pokemon that are like, I guess, crazy exceptions to the rule. There's one Pokemon that I've used with its hidden ability in the wrong game, and it was way better than its regular using it regularly in its normal game. And there's another Pokemon that I have not used in its respective game. I've only leveled it up post game, so I only know its hidden ability and an egg move, and I love it. But I also know that's not the same as when you use it in-game, which is majority of where you're going to use said Pokemon. Though I guess maybe you could argue bonus points because it's something I chose to level up, post-game. Anyway, we'll get to those when we get there. So, we got favorites, amazing, great, fine, dislike, and not used enough. Because honestly, I like, or generally like, every starter except for a couple. None of them I'd even put in mid. I think they all do something interesting. Well, okay, there's one that's like borderline, but I don't dislike it, so it's not going at the bottom. So, starting off with Venusaur. I think Venusaur is probably just great. Like, simple, great tier. It's not my favorite starter from the generation, but when I look at all the other starters, there's definitely starters that I would rather use Venusaur over. So I think putting it right in the middle and great is fine. I think it's overall really fun to use in Leaf Green and Fire Red. I don't have any experience with in Kalos. I typically, I think, choose Charizard because it comes with 2 mechas, depending. Well, I guess it depends on which game, but being able to choose Charizard and then trade the Mega Stone over, to my other game. Or I do Blastoise because I like Blastoise. So I don't have much experience with Venusaur in Kalos, but in Kanto, it's good. It's really good early because it's good against the early gyms. Then it falls off a little bit. Like, it's not crazy good the rest of the way. But, like, that's fine. That's fine. Because it helps you early, and when you get later in the game, you can flesh your team out a little bit. You got more options. Early on, it's when you're limited. So, having someone that takes on the early gyms when, really, if you don't choose Squirtle or Bulbasaur, I know you get Metal Claw with Charmander, but that's your only real Pokemon that's going to be hitting Brock super effectively. And then once you go over towards Mount Moon and Misty, unless you're using Pikachu, I don't think there's any other electric, or I guess, you know what? There might be a grass type in front of Mount Moon or right after Mount Moon, because you can definitely go north before Cerulean after Nugget Bridge and get like Bellsprout or Oddish. And then you can level them up, on the trainers after Nugget Bridge, because there's still a bunch of trainers over on the bay, or whatever that area is above Nugget Bridge. But still, it's limited options. And Bulbasaur is more likely to be in a better position level-wise if you use it from the start than something you just caught right before the gym. Charizard and Blastoise. Ooh, I like Charizard. And it's never been, like, there's a little fatigue because they use Charizard for a lot of things. Super popular, Ash's Pokemon. I do like Charizard, though. That doesn't take Charizard's opinion, like, doesn't lower it any. The only thing that lowers Charizard and Blastoise and Venusaur, for that matter, my opinion on them, is how desaturated they are in X and Y and Sun and Moon. I hate it so much. I'm so glad Pokemon are getting a little bit of color back that they lost in the sprites. I think Charizard and Blastoise are both probably just an amazing, because I like both of them a lot from like design-wise. Well, I like all these. There's only probably a few like starters in general whose designs I dislike, and those Pokemon are definitely going to be going down to the dislike tier. I like Charizard and Blastoise. I think Charizard is one of the best options in Kanto. I know, like, from a gym perspective, it's not amazing or anything. It's good against Erica, and there's no Bug, there's no Steel, and the Ice is an Elite Four member who's half Water types anyway because it's Kanto. So, like, yeah, Charizard's technically not good from that perspective. Flying's the same thing. Good against Grass and Bug. Also good against Fighting. And Bruno's got like 2 Rock types or something, I think. 2 or 3 Rock types, like Onyxes or something like that. But most of the Fire types, I think, are kind of not weak, but awkward. because the stone evolutions, you have to level them up. I think Vulpix would get Flamethrower before Charizard does. And that's a pretty interesting. I've never used Ninetales before. But like Rapidash is more physical. Magmar is super late in the game. I think Ponyta is fairly late in the game too. It's Mount Ember, as is Magmar, only in Leaf Green. Growlithe, if you want extreme speed and Flamethrower, you got to get up to 49 before evolving it. So not many Pokemon have, and even the flying types, not many have the attack and speed that Charizard has. Some have a few more attack power, but they're not as fast. The only ones I think are Scyther and Dodrio. So like Charizard's a great option to cover your fire and flying. Having a flyer with you is always really nice too in the games. Not having to go into your box to get something that can fly. And fly is a good move. And then Blastoise, I've always liked Blastoise. I think I put Blastoise above Charizard just because that was my original starter. I like turtles. So Blastoise, always been cool. It's just good overall. It's tanky. Like it's like a better, like superior stat wise in a way, because I think its defenses are its higher stats than its offenses, but it's fairly tanky and it still hits decently hard, and it helps that you have like surf and stuff like that. I guess the one thing is with Blastoise is you could argue that because especially in Kanto and the early game as a whole, but especially Kanto, there's a lot of water types, so you could argue that maybe if you're looking to use different things, Blastoise is the easiest one to replace. Because like with Charizard, unless you just don't want a fire type at all, or Venusaur, you don't want a grass type at all, you can make an argument they're the best of theirs, their respective types are the best to use. You could definitely go another direction instead of Blastoise if you want. It's a bit easier just because there's so many water types, but I love Blastoise. I love its design. I love everything about it. I wouldn't put it in my favorites, quite in my favorites. Yeah, I probably would have used to because it's Blastoise, but not anymore. Okay, so we got Meganium next. So I think Meganium is kind of like with Charizard. I said it's not very good later. Meganium's got to be the most notorious example of bad against gyms and Elite Four members. Because grass is good against water, rock, and ground, and none of them are gym leaders until Kanto. And then basically everything that grass isn't good against or grass is weak to is a gym. So Meganium is notoriously awful for basically everything except Chuck's Poliwrath. But one thing that I think about Meganium is cool is that it gets screens. It gets Reflect really early, and it gets Light Screen later on. But based off of my gold level, I'm assuming Crystal's similar too, although I don't know for sure. I haven't gotten that far in Crystal yet. We're still between gyms. We're about to do Chuck. That's the next thing. We're about to surf to Cyan Wood and do Chuck. But when I got to the Elite Four, I was in my 30s. So that's a little bit short of Light Screen for Meganium. You'd probably get that very early Kanto. But those are cool moves to get Reflect and Light Screen, being able to set those up. The other thing about Meganium is, even though it's bad against the gyms, Grass and Electric are the only two things super effective against water, and Gen 2 is really bad with those two types. Sunflora gets some pretty good moves, but most of the other grass types are either like Jumpluff gets like 2 attacking moves by level up. Giga Drain is Erica TM, which is post game, so like that's not an option even, to get that. You're stuck with like Mega Drain at like 40 something. I think it's like 44 you get Mega Drain, which is post game. You'd basically only have Tackle the entire as an attacking move, or Headbutt. You give Headbutt because that's an easy TM. It's also Bible. Most of them are stones besides that. Tangela's not, but Tangela. And then the electric types, if you're playing Crystal, you don't have access to Mareep. That's only in Gold and Silver. Otherwise, your options are a bunch of Pokemon that get Thundershock, and then they don't get a stronger move until post-game, and it's not Thunderbolt either, which is accurate. It's always inaccurate Thunder or Zap Cannon or something like that. Crystal, there's a move tutor in the post-game for those, who's in like Goldenrod, but that's post-game, so like there's not many good electric options. You're stuck with either weak moves and inaccurate moves, or Ampharos. Lantern too. Lantern's not the most offensive Pokemon, but you can get Lantern. It's pretty tanky. Thunder Punch you can buy, so you could run like Alakazam with Thunder Punch or something, right? Or Gengar with Thunder Punch. But Electabuzz, Pikachu, post game. You could get them from like an Egg and a Crystal too, but that's not guaranteed. And that'd be very time consuming grinding for that. So like it's pretty. There's not a lot of great options. So I think you got to give Meganium credit that Meganium is going to be one of your, if not your best grass option. Maybe even a good alternate to Electric, depending on which game you're playing. That being said, I used Meganium in Sun and Moon, and I probably wasn't as apt to using screens at that point, and maybe it would have been better if I would have taken advantage of the fact that it gets screens, but I didn't think it was very good. So I'm still going to put it fine. I don't dislike Meganium, but it wasn't very good in Sun and Moon. I got off a Wonder Trade. I forget if I even had a hidden ability or not, but it wasn't very good. Sui Typhlosion will be cool with this. I've not used it yet. I thought about using it, but Skeledirge is a starter in Scarlet and Violet, which would be the only games it moves to, and Chandeler's also in that game now, who is really great, so I've just kind of not. I've gone through Hisui twice, and I've used Samwat both times because I just love Samwat. So when we get to Decidueye Y, that'll be another, probably another not used enough. Typhlosion, this is my first time using it in Crystal. That being said, Typhlosion's been pretty good so far. I know it's kind of stuck with Ember for a little bit, but it'll get Flame Wheel, I think, shortly before it evolves. Or it'll get Flame Roll when it evolves, and then Flamethrower shortly after. I think there's always a boon to water types because you get Surf. So even though Feraligator's doesn't have a great special attack stat, it's like base 79. You know, you get access to Surf, which is a good water move. You don't always get that. I think you can get Fire Punch too when you evolve, which is a bit better than Flame Wheel. And I rocked out with Fire Punch with Magmar a good amount of the way. So knowing the context of what I know with Typhlosion when it gets its moves, and how I've used similar fire types, I think Typhlosion is perfectly fine to go into Great. I haven't used it enough to go into Amazing, but from the limited of using it and comparable fire types, I think Typhlosion's a pretty safe bet for Great. I've enjoyed it so far. I'm looking forward to using it more. It might go down to fine if you're looking at the newer gens where they took away its fire and the fire only comes out when it's like attacking, and that totally ruins it because then it looks really weird when it doesn't have the fire on like the sprites do. Feraligator, Feraligator is interesting too because like I said, its special attack isn't as good, so most of what you're hitting Feraligator with in Gold and Silver are special attacks, and you do get physical attacks in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, but it's like Aqua Tail, which is... Aqua Tail is not as... I don't like it as much as Waterfall. I prefer Waterfall. It's just a little bit weaker but more accurate. I don't like missing. And there's a point where, like, to me, that doesn't matter as much. Like, if I'm playing in-game... It's one thing if I'm going, like, competitive or something. I know you generally want damage for that, even at the risk of accuracy. But in-game, I prefer accuracy. So Waterfall is good enough that, you know, it's close enough that I prefer that. And you do get that eventually, obviously, but it takes you a bit. Ice Fang is not as good as Ice Punch. Bite and Crunch are definitely better now. But I think it's hurt a little bit there where some of its options, you know, like they're physical now, but the move itself is a bit weaker than it was. I don't like that, more inaccurate, even though Ice Fang does have double status with Flinch and Fang. I think I gotta just put in Great, because I do really like Feraligator, but it's not... I'm not sure if that's the top of my list. Even like looking at the other water starters too, you know, is Feraligator on the top of my list? Probably not. Like if I'm going through Scarlet and Violet, where it's very easy for me to get a starter, send and, you know, put it into home or something, get it to my other account, you know, and use those starters with a Ditto, you know, like it's not too difficult to do that. But, you know, is Feraligator the top of the options? You know, probably not, unless I'm just really feeling Feraligator. If I could be really feeling Feraligator because I do like it, but I think it's probably like top of Great is a good position for it. I don't like physical water as much as special water. There's some exceptions, but I think I prefer having a special attack stat. I think most of the things below it have a pretty good special attack stat. There's a few exceptions, but most of these, except for like Samawat and Inteleon, are dual types. And Inteleon is special, and I think Samawat's mixed. So Sceptile. Sceptile's also really tricky because you could put all these three starters under a blanket for me. I think I love the designs of all of them. I enjoy using all of them. I think the biggest thing is... See, this is tough because on one hand, you put a gun to my head, I'm probably telling you Sceptile's my favorite. But I think Sceptile's also probably the worst of the three because Firefighting's a really nice type combination and Blaziken's very offensive. And being very it's mixed. Not just offensive, it's mixed. So it is not like a 60 special attack Pokemon that its Blaze Kicks are hitting terribly because, you know, Blaziken is a physical attacker. It's got a special attack stat, so even pre-physical special in Gen 3 works perfectly. Swampert is better physical attack, but it's very tanky, and it's an amazing type combination. And you get Surf and other moves like that which kind of balance out a little bit, having the weaker offensive stat be the one that's attacking. Sceptile gets terrible moves in its original game. It does get better later on, but even its coverage moves are generally physical. And I used it recently in Ruby, and it was good, but I think I've got to stick it down here in Amazing, because as much as I like Sceptile, I don't think I can realistically say that's also at the exact top of my list, just because of that. I think it's better in newer games. So like if I'm against Scarlet and Violet, where I can get any Pokemon, any starter I want basically for a playthrough, I am using it currently with Blastoise in my Scarlet, which I've not played in a little bit, admittedly, but I think I gotta put it there because there is a factor of the original game you would use it in, because that's where you're using it the most. And if I use it in Scarlet, I'm not going back to use it in Scarlet, but I'm definitely going to rotate my starters, for the other games, for the Johto or home games. So I'll eventually get back around to using it again. Blaziken. Blaziken is probably the first of the serious hidden abilities. Not that the other ones are bad. There's definitely usage out of, I think it's on Burden for Sceptile. I think Charizard is Solar Power or something. There's definitely some Rain Dish for Blastoise. That's especially nice in Scarlet and Violet, where the rain's just kind of there. Blaziken's the first one with a real good one, though. But realistically, unless I'm playing through Scarlet and Violet, I'm not going to be using Speed with Blaziken. I'm just going to be using what you get normally. You did get one in X and Y, which was really cool. I did use that, and that was fun. But I don't have much memory of it, how good it was. I think it was pretty good. I wouldn't complain about it, but I don't remember it super, super, super well. I think Blaziken is going... Oh, man. Oh, this is tough. Where do I want to put Blaziken? It's borderline amazing and borderline favorites, because I think it's better and more usable than Sceptile is, in whichever game you choose to use it in. There's definitely some nostalgia because it was my first starter. I used Torchic first in those games. Usually I'm a water person, but I chose Blastoise and Feraligatr first, but Blaziken was my first one in Sapphire. For the time being, we're going to put it in favorites. It could drop down possibly. Just to the top of Amazing if it drops. Swampert. Swampert's another really, really, really good starter. Water Ground is a phenomenal type. I don't know. Everybody likes Swampert, and everybody's correct in liking Swampert. Swampert's really great. I don't have much to say about it. I wish its special attack was a bit better, just because it gets, even level up in Oris, it gets a lot of Mud Bomb, Muddy Water, which are special moves, before it gets the physical moves like Earthquake. Earthquake's a pretty high level. I would level up my Swampert before the Elite Four, and I remember when I did this in Emerald, I was 5 or 6 levels short, and I grinded for the Earthquake because I was I want the Earthquake going to the Elite Four. I like the other ones, though. It gets strong water moves, even though its special attack isn't as good. I don't think it's unusable or anything. Same with Feraligatrs. It's not unusable, but it's not preferred. I guess that'd be the only annoying downside is, well, this is with all the water types basically, is you have Surf and Waterfall, so if you need both of them, either you have to teach both to your water type, or you need to switch somebody out to get the other one. Swampert's got to go into the favorites tier. Swampert's just really, really good. It was on my Emerald team, whom I loved. That was my probably second favorite team I ever made. As of right now, that's probably my second favorite team that I've made. It was Swampert, Breloom, who had awful grass attacking power, Torkoal, Magneton, Altaria, and Sharpedo. That was a pretty cool team. I really enjoyed it. But Swampert, yeah, Swampert's just really good. Really great type. Everything about it is really good. Yeah, my only complaint is I wish its special attack was a little bit better. But I'm not going to complain too much because that would make Earthquake weaker probably, and I'm totally fine with that. And you eventually will get physical moves. Just takes you a little bit. Torterra is another interesting one for me because I think Torterra is really cool. It was my original starter. Turtwig, another turtle-looking Pokemon, and Torterra, another turtle-looking Pokemon. Knowing currently how I play, I don't know how I feel about Torterra. I used it in a Shining Pearl run, but that got halfway through and I stopped because I kind of did it right after Brilliant Diamond, and yeah, it's usually not a good idea to go through the same game back-to-back like that. Even though it was a totally different team Pokemon-wise. And I used it in my original Pearl, but that was such a long time ago. I'm currently on the side playing my own Pearl copy, and I'm using Torterra. And so far it's been really good, but it's the only thing on my team because you don't get Ponyta at that route where the bike thing is. You go down the dirt hill, right? And you can't get up it. You have to go all the way to Eterna and then come back down. It's in like the grass over under the bike route, but not in that little by the mud hill. So I have to wait all the way to get that. So I just now got my second Pokemon in Misdreavus. So it's kind of just killing everything because it's level like 23 and it outlevels everything. So it's kind of hard for me to judge. But back to what I was saying, by how I play nowadays, I don't like slower Pokemon as much. They can work if more Pokemon on the team are fast, but I don't always like slow Pokemon. I had a team with an Emboar in Black and White where every time I switched out, I swear I would take damage, and then I take more damage, or like late game, especially when they have more coverage moves, I feel like I take half my health before I got an attack off, and I just hated it. I know that I shouldn't just build slow teams, though. I need a little bit more speed than I had on that one. Scolipede was the only thing higher than like base 70 on that team. It was really, really, really slow. So I don't fully know how I feel, but I love Torterra design-wise, so I think Torterra is going to sit here for now because I know usage-wise the 3 above it a bit more, even though as a design, I'm probably putting Torterra number 1 in that tier. Actually, if we're going purely off of design, I'd move it up a tier, but I don't. And it's one I haven't had experience with recently, even though I've used it, so. Putting it in great because I love its design. Always will love its design, but I'm uncertain how much I really like using it. Physical grass is also awkward because it's got Wood Hammer, and that's recoil, and I hate recoil. I hate recoil, and I hate missing moves if I'm just playing casually. Infernape. Okay, Infernape has to go up by Blaziken because they're very similar, very offensive, both have special and physical attack and speed. So, this is pre-physical special, or not pre, this is post-physical special, so there's no issues with that for Infernape, but that means it can run like Flamethrower or something and not be forced into like, I guess Flare Blitz as the only fire move, physical fire move, because there's no like TM for Fire Punch or anything like that. Like there's some middling moves, but like Fire Punch isn't a TM, it's not something you get by level up, I don't think, so like that's not really much of an option. You get Flame Charge eventually, but that's only base 50 power. Ups your speed, but it's only base 50 power. So I like having that special and being able to hit with, not recoil moves. And Firefighting is, again, just a really good type combination overall. It hits a lot of things really hard. There's some overlap. They both hit Steel and Ice super effectively, but Fighting hits Rock super effectively, and it hits Normal super effectively, which is always nice, and it's Dark super effectively, which is really nice, especially before Fairy's introduced. Dark's only weaknesses are Bug, which does not have a lot of offense, and Fighting, so having a Fighting type at Dark is always really nice. Overall, I just like offensive Pokemon, so it's a fun one to use. And in one of its respective games, it's one of 2 Fire-type options. There's Rapidash, who, while I am trying Rapidash in that Pearl run I was mentioning, has never been anything I super considered, so to me, I see Infernape as like a vastly superior option until proven otherwise. Empoleon. Oh man, another tough one because I've used it once and I didn't feel like a crazy connection to it. But Water Steel is a killer type combination. And I don't know how many times I've been using like the DB, Pokemon DB, the type thing where you just put in types and it tells you what resists all of those types, what's neutral, and if it's weak to, one of those, right? And a lot of times I end up having like Fire Electric or something. Not Fire Electric. I have like Fire. I'm always weak to like Fire and Rock or something. Like, no, it's not Fire and Rock. What are the types that I'm always weak to that I need that? I think one of them is Water because I have Fire and Ground a lot of times. So I'm usually weak to Water. And there's another type that I typically end up getting weak to that Steel resists. I don't know what it is offhand, but there's a lot of times where Empoleon would be like, oh, this would fit perfectly on my team, like type-wise. And obviously I can't use it because it's not Gen 4 that I'm playing, but I love penguins, another animal I like, but I've never like fallen in love with Empoleon. I don't really know why. So I'm like borderline amazing and great because I've never fallen in love with it, but when I used it, like I thought it was good. I think I got to put it in great because I think I need more of a connection to bump it up. I have more of a connection with Torterra and Feraligatr even than Empoleon, but I think Empoleon's probably a little bit better than both of them. And like I said, I used it more recently. I liked it. It was good. So, I mean, I don't have much to say about Empoleon because I need to use it again. And I will because you have Diamond and Pearl. Diamond or Pearl. I got Platinum, and then Brilliant Diamond or Shining Pearl, whichever one. So that is 3 Sinnoh games to play. That means Ebolan's being used in one of them. The plan is for Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, though, so it's going to be waiting a little bit. Gen 5. Serperior is definitely going in fine. Because, okay, like I said before, technically anything in Scarlet and Violet, it's really easy to hit abilities. Because all you have to do is GTS. And it's not difficult. Like for me, I've a boatload of Axews from shiny hunting it that I bred. I just throw an Axew and ask for whatever, and yeah, it might take a little bit, but I'm gonna get a Contrary eventually. But generally speaking, in its respective game, when it doesn't have the hidden ability specifically, Serperior just it does not hit very hard, and that's its biggest thing. It's pretty defensive and it's fast, which is nice, but it just does not hit hard enough. The team, when I used it with Seismitoad, Unfezant, Scrafty, Chandelure, and Zebstrika, and there was a stark contrast between Serperior, Seismitoad, and Unfezant, and Zebstrika, Scrafty, and Chandelure. And I just can't forget that. I don't really, I like Serperior. I think it's really cool, and Contrary is awesome. I used it in X. I got it off a Wonder Trade. It was amazing. But again, kind of like with some of these other ones, even if I use it in Scarlet and Violet with the Contrary, it'd be probably a one-time thing. I don't use it again. I go back to Black and White a lot. I love Black and White and Black and White too, and I just don't think it's very good in those games at all. So like there's more towards those games, you know, than others. And unlike another Pokemon later on, hidden ability related, it was not a Pokemon available in Gen 8, so I didn't level it up. It was only lovable in Gen 9. And I don't like breeding as much in Gen 9. I don't think it's as fun. It's a lot of just sitting there waiting for eggs, and then you have a boatload of eggs, and if you get the Pokemon early, you're stuck hatching a bunch of eggs that you don't really want because you can't get rid of them, and I hate it. That's why I've always liked Gen 8s more, because I can keep the eggs at bay, so I don't have too many with me at one time, driving back and forth. And I'd kind of rather just do something than sit there. I know some people would rather sit there and let it go as they do something else, but if I'm sitting down, I want to play the game, not sitting down to breed and then play later. Anyway, off topic. Serperior, as good as Contrary is, and you could make a justification to bumping it up a couple of tiers, maybe even up to favorites off Contrary, because Contrary is really fun, but I just can't get over how bad it is without it. I don't dislike Serperior though. I think it's cool, and it does have a great hidden ability. I know there's a couple other Pokemon that have great hidden abilities that I'm probably going to put in dislike because I don't like them, but Serperior is not one. I think it's got a cool design. I just don't think it's that fun to use without its hidden ability, and that's honestly where you're going to use it the most, is, you know, in its respective game. Emboar. Emboar also think I'm putting fine, because Emboar has one problem that I don't think there's a single other Pokemon that has this specific problem in any other Pokemon game for me. I love Darmanitan, and Darmanitan does Emboar's job just as well, arguably. It has a big... So Emboar has high attack, high special attack, and high HP. Its defenses are lower, and its speed is low. Darmanitan takes that special attack and puts it into speed, basically. Its defenses are, I think, maybe a little bit lower, but it's got a big HP stat like Emboar, so they're around the same tankiness. And yeah, instead of having a physical attack and a special attack, it's got a physical attack, which might be a bit higher than Emboar's even, and it's fast. And it gets fire and fighting moves that hit really hard because of its offensive stat with its massive attack stat. So generally speaking, it's really hard for me to say I'm going to use Emboar and not Darmanitan. Because if I use a fire type, I usually want to use Darmanitan because I love Darmanitan. And while there's other Pokemon I like for example, I love Talonflame, but I don't mind using Delphox and something else. But especially in the more limited Unova decks, you know, if I want to have a fire type, you know, okay, what if it's not Darmanitan, right? Simisear is off the table. That stinks. I would rather use it more than that. But you get Chandelure later in the game, and I love Chandelure too. So Emboar becomes just under other fire types for me, and that's what is probably the most difficult thing. Is it's hard for me to say no to some of those Pokemon. Overall, though, I think it's cool that it's got a special attack stat because it gets some really cool moves. Like it has insane coverage. It gets like Scald, which is really cool. I would like to go back. That's definitely one I'm going to use again playing through Black and White and Black 2 and White 2. But overall, you know, the team I used it on wasn't great. I'm willing to give it another chance, and I think it could rise up with another chance, and I'd like it more. But for now, I have to put it in fine because I'd rather use other things, specifically Darmanitan or Chandelure in its respective gen. Samawat, I can talk about both of these, and I'll do Hisuian first since it's in line. I love Hisuian Samawat. I love Samawat. I love Hisuian Samawat. It's a water dark type, which is a cool combination. There's a couple of those, Greninja, another starter. Sharpedo's water dark, Crawdon's water dark. So there's a few water dark types, but I think Samawat's really fun. I overall like it. I like its move, its signature move. I forget what it's called, but that sets up like the spikes. It's really cool. I just love Samawat. I love its design. I think it looks really cool. I love the color scheme they did for this one. When I was going through I beat Scarlet, and I was going through and I wanted to redo Scarlet because there's so many Pokemon that I think that are available in Scarlet and Violet that I think are really cool. But once the DLC came out and stuff, I think the DLC came out this time. The DLC had come out, but I hadn't played it yet. So I wanted to restart and go through it and then do the DLC because I didn't really like my team originally. Like, it was not that it was bad, but it was all new Pokemon, and it's a great new dex, but it wasn't like a great team or anything like that. So I wanted to redo it, and I used a lot of my favorite Pokemon over the course of Pokemon, and I made sure to get myself a Hisuian Samawat, and I used it there too. So I used it in like regular Pokemon, not just Hisui, and I just loved it. I have a hard time even going through Hisui and choosing something else. I'll probably do Decidueye next time I go through. R.I.P. Typhlosion. I wouldn't mind doing Typhlosion eventually, but that's just bottom of my list of Hisuian starters. I think Hisuian Decidueye looks pretty cool. I like grass fighting too. But anyway, Water Dark, Hisuian Samawat is really cool, really fun. Overall, like I just like Samawat a lot. So, and that goes the same for regular Samawat, except kind of like with Hisuian in its regular game. I don't love. No, there's some cool water types in Sinnoh / Hisui, but I know you get I don't know where you get each of them offhand. I know you get Buizel early on, but I don't know what other water types you can get easily. I think you get like Magikarp kind of easily. But out of the water types that I really like, I don't know where you get them, respectively. I think you do get maybe Shellos in an area or is that the second or third? I don't remember. I'm not going to try. With regular Samawat, I don't really think the water types are that strong in black and white. So Samawat's my go-to, especially in regular black and white. I think Jellicent is really cool, and I've used Jellicent, and I like Jellicent a lot. That's the number one alternative, but I didn't really like Seismitoad. It's a great type, but I'd rather just use... I know it's 2 Pokemon for these types, but I'd rather use a Samawat and then use like Excadrill or Crocodile instead of merging that into one, and having Water Ground. As good of a type combination as I just think all those Pokemon are better. Seismitoad's really mediocre. It's like good at nothing. It's not bad at anything, but it's not really good at anything either, so... Swanna, Simipour. Swanna's a cool type too, but I just don't like it all that much. I didn't really enjoy using it when I used it. Simipour is not very good. Basculin is the other thing. I think that's it. So Samawat's like up there, like head over heels above everything except for maybe Jellicent. So that's always the go-to. Mixed attacker, so I can use both coverages and hit pretty hard. I guess Sceptile, to be fair, going back to it, has like 85 attack, which is better than like Feraligatr or Swampert special attack. But all the coverage moves for it are like Air Release, which are weaker moves. So using the weaker attack with weaker moves is not going to hit as hard as like Surf, on those other two. But Samawat's got good of both, and it's decently fast. I don't think it's slow. At least it never feels slow to me, even if it is. It's not like crazy fast, but I don't know what its speed stat is offhand, but it doesn't feel crazy slow, even if it is on the slower end. I think it's at least 70 though. Chestnut. First thing I'm putting in dislike. I think Quilladin is like the ugliest Pokemon ever, but I don't really like Chestnut. I don't like its colors. I don't like its design all that much. Maybe I'd be willing to go back and use it. I've thought about it for X and Y because I used Delphox and Greninja last. So like I could go back and try Chestnut again and maybe I'd like it a bit more, but I also know I'm gonna have Quilladin for a long time, and I hate Quilladin. That's like my least favorite Pokemon. Maybe no, Bruxish is worse, but Quilladin's in the bottom 5. I think Quilladin is terribly ugly. I think Pignite is a better like rotund, round Pokemon. If we're going like similar body types, I think Pignite just does it better. Yeah, I think Grass Fighting is a cool combination. And there's not many of those because we just got Hisuian Decidueye, but Breloom was literally only available in the Hoenn games until Gen 9 in the main decks. It was not available in the main decks of literally any other game. Sometimes it was in the post game you could get it, but not in the main game. And Virizion is a legend, so like Grass Fighting is a cool type. but I don't really like it that much, and Quilladin really drags it down. I think the Shiny's better, but I think the color scheme on the Mega is really good. Actually, I think the color scheme on all the Megas for the Gen 6 is really good. I think the accent colors they add into it, like the lighter blue they add to Greninja, I mean, it's got a little bit of that color, I think, but not a lot. And the Delphox, like the dark colors it adds are really cool. And I think same with Chestnut. I didn't like the darker yellowy brown color with like the dark green, and I think there's a bit of red or orange on it too. Like I think it looks really good. I wish that was the regular design. I'd like it a lot more. I do think Spiky Shield's pretty cool. It's a cool type. I just can't get behind it. It's not my thing. But Quilladin also really hurts. If it wasn't Quilladin, I might be able to bump it up a tier, but I just can't stand Quilladin. And if I'm using Chestnut, I have to use Quilladin for like 20 levels. And ugh. Delphox. Ooh. I think Delphox is going into the great tier. Because, again, I used it. I liked it. Kind of like Empoleon. I don't have a crazy connection to it. Kind of like Emboar, I love Talonflame, so I'd probably rather use Talonflame with something else, but I still like Delphox. I think my biggest thing is I think Fire Psychic's a cool type combination, but it's usually as a Psychic type, you want it to beat fighting types, and the fighting types all have like rock coverage. Like basically every fighting type seems to have rock coverage, and that hits Delphox super effectively, so there goes your fighting counter. You know, it doesn't work anymore. Kind of like a flying type. Same deal, really, as the flying types do. But you know, it becomes in that sense like a flying type where it gets hit by all the rock moves, and that's kind of obnoxious. But I like Delphox. I liked its stats. It was fun to use overall. Got good coverage, good move pull. Everything nowadays has good move pulls, though. Like, now that we're in the modern games for all these Pokemon. Not comparing them to, like Sceptile, where, you know, it exists in Gen 3, right? Greninja, I think I'm going to put in Amazing. I think it's better than the top of Great, even though I don't have, again, as much connection to Greninja. I just used it and it was good. It was really good, but it wasn't like my favorite of it. But I also know Greninja, it's one of those that is a great hint ability of Protein, especially in its original game. But I do know that it gets a lot of moves. A lot of moves, and you could run it different ways. And I think it'd be fun to go back and run a Greninja, like instead of running Water Shuriken and some coverage move, run like U-turn and something else, you know? Like just change its coverage moves up. And I think that gives it so much versatility to use it over and over again. It is really offensive, which is what I like, generally speaking. So I think I put it just a little bit above Empoleon and Delphox, bottom of Amazing. But I don't have as much of a connection to some of the other Pokemon. So it's hard to bring it higher than that, even though it could justify it with its stats and justify it with its ability, if we're accounting for that. I think its ability, too, does probably bump it up a little bit over those things, because I don't know what Delphox is. I think it's Magician, right? And then Empoleon's is Defiant. And those are both good, but they're not Protein. Even if Protein only works once in the newer games, like that's still very, very useful to make yourself change your type and be stab on something. So yeah, Greninja, very high. Very good Pokemon. Another one I don't have as much to say about it because I don't have as much of a connection. And I don't have a story with it. The story with it is I used it, it was good, but it was not the best thing on my team. Part of that is because Aegislash exists, and Doublade exists, and Doublade is really good. I didn't know King Shield needed a heart scale, so I evolved it mid-Elite 4, and I was like, crap, this sucks. But besides that, I used Doublade for like the entire game, basically. I don't know, I didn't even evolve it even for King Shield. I didn't want to give up my Sacred Sword because I didn't have I wanted the coverage, so I wanted to stick with Sacred Sword, Iron Head, Shadow Sneak, and then I had Swords Dance to up my attack, so that's what I did with Doublade. But it was the MVP, not Greninja. Greninja was still really good. It was better than probably Florges for a while and Pyroar for a while because it took them a while to get their good moves. I could have gone Dazzling Gleam a little bit early and hard scaled Florges, but I decided to level up the few more levels it needed for Moonblast because Moonblast is a bit better instead of trying to go find a hard scale for that. What are the other two Pokemon? I used Aurorus, which was fine. I don't think I'd want to use it again though. And who was my grass type? Gogoat. Gogoat was alright. It had a kind of coverage move problem, I think. It got like Earthquake, I think, at a high level or something, but I kind of wish I could have one more move on it. So Greninja was probably the second best Pokemon on that team. It's just Aegislash. Doublade was so much better than everything. Suin Decidueye, it's got to be not used enough. I haven't used it at all. I think it'd be fun. It's a bit slow from when I looked at its stats, but I think it's got cool moves. And I like grass fighting. The only thing is Breloom is... I love Breloom, and this is the first time Breloom's been available, so if I'm using it outside of Hisui, like I'm bringing it into Scarlet and Violet, I'd probably want to do a run with Breloom first. That finishes. I did use Breloom, and I did not finish the run. I'd probably want to do that first, but maybe I'd change mine and go Decidueye just to use it. Another Pokemon that'd be a high contender for let me put it on a Scarlet Violet team is Decidueye, regular Decidueye, because I used it on a team that was very missing coverage, and I left the playthrough thinking to myself, if only I would have chose Primarina over Decidueye. I know there are some benefits to Decidueye over Primarina, like grass and water are different types. They're a little bit different, right? They both hit rock and ground, but grass hits water, water hits fire. Ghost and Fairy are different, but part of it is I was missing Fairy coverage on that team, which is why Primarina would have been double good. I was missing Water, Fairy, Ice, and Ground coverage. I had nothing that could get any of those moves. Until like a post-game move tutor could have given my Lycanroc a ground move, but nothing before that. So it was like, ugh, and I was in like Ultra Moon. And that leaves a bit of a sour taste in my mouth with Decidueye, kind of like with Emboar. So I think I'm going to put it in fine. It's got easy position to move up. Unlike Serperior and Meganium, where I've used them, you know, in other places, and without Contrary, I don't think Serperior can move up, and I didn't think Meganium was good enough to move up either. And when I used it in a different game, I don't think Emboar and Decidueye could easily move themselves up. Meganium might be able to move up a tier 2 using it in, like, Silver. Because, again, Moon is different. There's a lot of better options. There's not as many good options in Gold and Silver for Meganium. Like, Meganium probably works a lot better, even though it's not good against the gyms. It works better just for all the water types in the game that are there. And just have a grass type, because grass is still a fine type offensively. It's a lot of things nicely. But I think Emboar does drive more room to move up than those other two. But for now, I got to put them there because I was left a little bit tainted. Actually, if I really should move these, I think Emboar and Decidueye would be here. And then we're going to put Serperior here because I like its design more, and I do respect Contrary. Actually, yeah, no, I'm going to keep it there. For Serperior specifically, I weigh Contrary way less than regular. Even though I have used it with Contrary the one time in X from Wonder Trade, I still weigh it a lot more for its regular game. Yeah, so Decidueye I think is cool. I think it's really cool, but I'm a little bit soured by the team I used with it. I would need to go back with a different team. What is tricky is unless I did use it in Scarlet and Violet, I have not used Incineroar in its base game yet, and I've used Primarina. I love Primarina, so I would like to use Primarina and Incineroar, but that would mean not using Decidueye. So something's gonna have to give there. I'm either gonna have to change my mind and not use Incineroar again, or use not use Primarina, who I would love to use in those games again because I've only used it once. Actually, I used it in my original Moon playthrough. I love Primarina though. Incineroar is the other Pokemon I mentioned early on that is really different because I've only leveled it up post game and it had Parting Shot and Intimidate, and Parting Shot and Intimidate is awesome. I love it. I know that it would not be quite as good if I was using it in another game. If I go to Cerebi real quick and look at Incineroar, and that is probably not the... I don't have Incineroar pulled up or anything, so I have to look up. Okay, Cacturne. Now let's click on Incineroar from there, and then go to Gen 7. So, in Gen 7, I know I'm not going to get it Parting Shot as a move. That's not going to be an option. It does get like good moves and everything. Darkest Laird and Flamethrower, which are really strong. If I want later on at a high level, I think you get to a higher level in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. I think you get to a pretty high level in those games. I don't remember though fully. And there's probably some TMs that you could get a Leech Life. Wow, that's cool. There's probably some good TMs too. You can give it Will-O-Wisp, U-Turn, Leech Life, Flame Charge. So I think overall, like it'd be good. Its speed, it's pretty slow, but it's pretty tanky overall still. 95, 90, 90. Having that big HP really helps because it doesn't just have good defenses, but it has a big HP stat. It's not like its HP stat is 50 or something, base 50. So I think it'd be really fun, but I only know it with its hidden ability and everything. And like I said, I've tried to not keep that as much of a factor in this because that's not exactly fair. Since most of these Pokemon, you're not using them with their hidden ability. Even though I definitely could use them optionally with that, you know, in Scarlet and Violet now because it's easy. But I haven't even done that for some of those too, so... Ooh, that makes Incineroar really tough. because part of me wants to put it in amazing, because I really like using it, and then I am going to put it in the bottom of amazing. It's going to be like with Greninja. I think based off of what I love it post-game, but I realized I wouldn't have all of those things in a regular playthrough. But looking at its stats and its moves and its coverage and its type and everything about it, I think I'd still probably like Incineroar a lot. And I like its design. I like the wrestler design. I don't know, everybody loves it. I like it. I'm fine with it. I think it's cool. So a design that, like Torterra, I like, but I think I like it a bit more than a Torterra. And from my experience using it post-game, I do really love it. So, not every Pokemon I choose to level up post-game, right? I think that's got to count for something. So I'm going to stick in the bottom of amazing, because I don't think I can put it in favorites when I haven't used it in its regular game yet. And I don't want to drop it too much further. That would be like at the top of great, maybe. But I can't put it too much higher. I think bottom of amazing is fine, because I enjoy it post-game, but it keeps a ceiling on it for having not used it regular, game like other things. Primarina, easy top tier. I'm going to stick it between the Samurott and Swampert. Fairy is an amazing type. Water is an amazing type. It is literally my two favorite types in the game. Combination. The only other thing offhand is Tapu Fini and Azumarill. So yeah, Azumarill is really good too. I mean, I like using Azumarill, but yeah, Primarina, I love it. One of my favorites. If I have not decided on this, if I go through Scarlet and Violet and I catch the Pokemon, then obviously I would not have Primarina. But if I did, if I went and I bred, the Pokemon I want to use, then Primarina would be a strong contender. I love water and I love fairy type. It's the best of both worlds, really. Got a cool move set, special attacker, high special defense. Whenever I've used it, I like it. I like its design. I really like everything about Primarina. It's another one that I just overall really, really, really like. Yeah. It's going to be interesting when I get to Sun Moon, because there's only two Gen 7 mains. There's Sun and Moon, and there's Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, which means one starter has to be left off, and I don't really want it to be any of them, because I like to give Decidueye another chance. I'd like to use Incineroar in its regular game, and I'd like to actually use Primarina on a better team for once, because the team I used Primarina on also wasn't very good. It was another, I'm just going to use new Pokemon, and that was cool, but, when you're just kind of using new Pokemon you usually end up with problems on the team, and especially when you're not looking at old Pokemon, the Alolan Dex is really slow when you just look at simply Alolan Pokemon only. So I had another really slow team. But, okay. I want to be honest. Rillaboom and Cinderace I have to put not used enough, because I've never finished. I went through Sword and Shield once. I have not replayed it before. And I used Inteleon. So even though I think I would like Scorbunny because it lines up with like Infernape stat-wise, it's very offensive. I think it's a bit more physical with speed than special. I don't know what special attack is offhand, but I would like, I'm certain I would like it. And same with Rillaboom. Rillaboom is like Heracross's stat line, basically. Like pretty good HP, high attack, and like a good like special defense and solid speed, solid physical defense or something like that. Or maybe it's Heracross with more physical defense and special defense, but something like that, right? Where it's pretty good. Pretty fast, not the fastest, but pretty fast. Hits hard, got a decent amount of bulk. Difference is it's the pure grass type, but I think it gets pretty good coverage if I remember correctly. I just haven't used either of them, so I don't want to go fully off of that. Like, at least I've used Incineroar in something, even if it's not a playthrough. And I've at least used, I have Quilava currently, and it's been good. So like I can make a good sound judgment on Typhlosion. And I can make a good judgment on Incineroar based off of what I know. And I can kind of make that with those two because their stats are good, but I haven't used them enough. But I have not used them at all. It's not even like Typhlosion where I'm in Quilava actively using it. I'm liking it. I just used a similar Pokemon in Magmar. At least I think Magmar is pretty similar. That's actually a great question real quick. Let's go on a side quest. What is Typhlosion versus Magmar in Gen 2 stat-wise? Typhlosion has 100 speed, 101 special attack, and 84 attack. And its defenses are fine. They're not great, they're fine. And if we go down to Magmar real quick, who I love, Magmar is one of my favorite Pokemon ever. Magmar has 93 speed, 100 special attack, 95 physical attack. It's less tanky. It's got the same special defense, less physically tanky. So it's a bit, I'd say Typhlosion is a better Magmar. So I think it's easy for me to put that there. I just can't. I don't think I can make it on, especially because it's a physical fire type. I don't think I can make the judgment. Same with Rillaboom. I don't feel comfortable enough, even though I think with their stats I'd like them. Like stat-wise, they're probably at least great tier, no lower, but I can't move them besides that. Inteleon dislike. It is a great stat line. It's hyper offensive with high special attack. It is everything I want in a Pokemon. Even those other water strikes, except for Greninja, I think Greninja is the only one that matches it offensively as like a speed and one of its attack stats combination. Because Swampert's obviously slower, Primarina's slower, Sandwat's not that fast, Blastoise isn't that fast, Feraligator's not that fast, Napoleon's not that fast. None of them are like, most of them aren't crazy slow, but they're not fast. Greninja's the only one. I just hate its design. I like its design less than Chestnut's, to put in perspective. So I don't really care how good its stats are. I don't like its design. I don't really like anything about the Sobble line. I think Sobble's, if we're looking at regular starters, it's near the bottom. I guess Drizzile, alright. I don't hate Drizzile, but yeah, I think snipers are cool too. Like, I think it's a cool theme. I just really do not like its design. So no matter how much I like its stats, like it was a good Pokemon to use, I don't want to use it again because I think it's kind of ugly. Meowscarada, that's straight into the top tier. It's a Phantom Thief. I'm a big Persona fan. That's a Phantom Thief. What else can I say? And its stats match up with what I want. It's another offensive Pokemon. Super offensive Pokemon. Its hidden ability is also Protein. Or they're equivalent to Protein, I believe. Its signature move automatically crits, which is cool. If I'm moving, I'm probably moving Meowscarada like behind Primarina or something. Maybe even higher. It's definitely, I think a minor spoiler, those are probably my top 5 starters. What's up there? You can move Sandwat into number 1, and then probably it's Infernape over Blaziken. I think I like Infernape moves a little bit more. Admittedly, I've not used Blaziken in a little bit. I used Infernape fairly recently. At least it was my Pokemon in Brilliant Diamond, and it was really good. I assume Blaziken when I use it again. That is the plan for Blaziken is Ruby or Sapphire, whichever one, which is the first of the Hoenn games. So that's not really far away. So maybe that can swap again. But yeah, I love Meowscarada. Exactly what I want in a Pokemon. I like its typing. Skeledirge, I'm gonna stick it in Great. I think its design is pretty cool. I just don't really have much of a connection right now. I've used it in 2 playthroughs that have not gone all the way through, but like I've used it more than enough to say it's good. I like it. I think its biggest hold up for me is maybe I like Chandelure a lot, and Chandelure is now available. There is now an option if I want to use Hisuian, Typhlosion, try it out. Like they're all the same Fire Ghost typing. But I think its signature move is also really cool. I think it buffs its like special attack stat, so it gets stronger every time. That's another cool one. So Skeledirge, I think it's got a cool design, like the crocodile. It's crocodile, right? Yeah, because it's crocodile like crocodile, for alligator to gator. Yeah, I don't have much to say. I've enjoyed using it. I just don't have much of a connection, so it's kind of gonna sit in Great because that's where most of the Pokemon that I'd say I don't have much of a connection are. Greninja's like the one exception because I like Greninja's stat line a lot. Yeah, Quaquaval. I'm borderline between a dislike and the very bottom of fine. Somebody commented on a video, and they said, or was it no, it was in the stream. It was in a stream. And they said Moxie with Aqua Step because Aqua Step boosted speed. It's not very fast, but Aqua Step boosted speed, and then if you get kills, you get the Moxie boost. And that's a really cool combination. I like using Moxie for my Crocodile a lot of the times. I think that's what I typically have gone with over Intimidate, even though you could argue Intimidate is in ways, but they both have their value. But having Moxie's a great ability. So having Moxie that can boost stats in a way that I don't think Crocodile really does is really cool. I just don't really like its design terribly, and I used it. Unlike the other starters where I say you can get them easily, you can get Quaxly easily too, but I've used so far the actual starter. So I have used regular Skeledirge, regular Meowscarada, regular Quaxly or Quaquaval. I've used just them as starters. I did not go and try to breed a different one as my, quote-unquote starter that had the hidden ability. And without, kind of like Serperior, without the hidden ability, I didn't think it was very good. I love Water Fighting as a type combination. I think Poliwrath is now available, and I could be wrong. It's at least available in the gen before. And there's the Tauros and Violet. So, there's other options too for that specific type combination. And I kind of think they're a little bit more interesting to me than Quaquaval's. I just didn't really like Quaquaval. I do understand that like Serperior with its hidden ability, it's better, but I gotta put it down here. I'm gonna stick it below Chestnut because I think I'd still prefer Chestnut. I prefer Moxie Quaquaval, but I'm not looking at Moxie. So I think looking at the tiers, I think they're ordered pretty fine. I think everything is ordered pretty fine. Yeah, I think I like how this is. So the only thing that I might switch is the borderline things. There, I'd like maybe Blaziken would drop 1 tier, maybe Incineroar would drop 1 tier to the top of Great until I use it officially, you know, in a regular game. I think that's generally how I feel. So tell me what you guys think down below, what you really disagree with, what you really agree with. I'm always happy to hear other people's thoughts because there are definitely people who are going to use some of these Pokemon or weigh maybe the hidden abilities more and be like, this is really good. Or maybe be like, you really need to try this, you know? Maybe I really need to try Moxie Quaquaval, you know? And maybe that'll be a thing. Maybe the Scarlet Violet playthrough will be a bunch of Pokemon that, you know, trying some hidden abilities on starters or something like that. But yeah, leave down below what your thoughts are on the tier list. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.